the pain like.
Hey guys, dearyoongi here, and welcome back to my channel. K-pop label RBW, home to artists such as Mamamoo and Wonuz, have recently been criticized for its collaboration with AI app Almigo. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing the meaning behind this collaboration and why this has actually been more disturbing than it first appeared, as well as accusations RBW have faced in the past for not protecting its idols, before we delve even deeper and look into what this entire situation shows us about the sorry state of circumstances female idols have to face daily. So without further ado, let's get started. And we don't normally start with the controversy in my videos, but I do think for today, it would make the most sense to first look at what RBW was trying to do and why this was so problematic. Rainbow Bridge World, more commonly known as RBW, recently announced that it would be collaborating with KLLEON for their AI app Almigo. The idea behind the application is that it allows users to select an AI character avatar and have conversations with them. Now, the simple free version of this app allows users to message these AI characters, but there is another additional feature of this app you can pay for, which allows the user to have explicit conversations and even video calls with these characters. When RBW announced its collaboration with the Almigo app, this meant that several RBW artists had been added to the application as characters. Among these included Kara member Youngji, Mamamoo's Solar, Oh My Girl's Hyojung, and Young Posse's Jiana, who just turned 19 in February. As you can imagine, to say fans were disappointed in this collab was an understatement for a multitude of reasons. News of a K-pop company collaborating with an app to create AI characters of its current artists was met with disappointment from fans who have not been enthused by the amount of AI that has been sneaking its way into K-pop to begin with. But more so, I'd say this announcement was met with utter disgust from netizens globally for the way in which this content allowed these artists to be open for exploitation. But fans also couldn't believe the sheer audacity of the label for even allowing this to happen to the artists it's supposed to be protecting. Although sure, all of the artists who were seemingly added to the app as characters, if it was just these few, are all above the age of 18, but that didn't suddenly make this acceptable, especially when other members of Young Posse who might not be involved are still minors connected to the group. Fans were quick to point out the fact that this app was obviously not going to be used for the innocent means of just messaging a K-pop idol you like, and being used as an object for the creation of NSFW content should be nowhere in the expectations of a K-pop idol. We will of course come back later to look at these criticisms in further detail, but just to fill you in on where we currently are, RBW has since released an apology for the Almigo collaboration. In the company's statement, they said, "Artist characters in Almigo will be deleted within the next day. We'll make sure this never happens again." Although the label issued this apology and will not be proceeding with adding AI avatars of the RBW artists to the application, fans were still not content with the label's apology. And I think this is mainly because of the whole idea of you're only sorry you got caught, you know? The fact that the label was willing to partake in this collab in the first place shows fans of the company's artists that they will be willing to do anything for money, even if it means putting their own artists in this position. If fans hadn't had any complaints, then the collaboration would have gone ahead as planned. The company weren't suddenly doing a 180 and pulling its artists because they realized it was the right thing to do. It's because fans were calling for a boycott of the application and expressed their intentions to not support it. Okay, so there we are, you're all caught up, and RBW have confirmed they're not going to be going ahead with this collaboration. So why exactly are we still talking about it on my channel today? Well, would you believe me if I said this isn't the first time RBW has been accused of failing to protect its artists from exploitation? I know, right? Let's all act surprised. So let's talk about girl group Young Posse's story and experiences with RBW so far. I have been wanting to dive into this properly for so long, and now they've given me the opportunity to do so. Young Posse is a 5-member girl group under DSP Media and Beats Entertainment. I know you might be thinking, huh? But bear with me. Let's not forget RBW acquired DSP Media back in early 2022, which means DSP Media is now a subsidiary of RBW. Young Posse made their debut in October 2023 with the song Macaroni Cheese. While fans enjoyed the group's early 2000 2000s in hip-hop sort of concept, they did not miss the clear innuendos that were scattered all throughout this song's lyrics. If you don't look into it any deeper, this song literally does sound like they're talking about pasta, but only on a surface level. But when you really read the lyrics and imagine what else they could have been insinuating, you will understand why people had their criticisms. They include lines like, "The goal is in my mouth, drop it in my mouth," and "I just want it hot, but don't make my body hot." Yeah, do you see why some fans thought the macaroni cheese was being used as a metaphor for something more NSFW? Could have been entirely an innocent coincidence, but when you consider the fact that foods are often used for more explicit innuendos, and in music, part of me struggles to believe this was a coincidence. Oh, sorry, did I mention that when this song was released, the group had members who were just 13, almost 14, and 15 years old? When you take the girls' young ages into consideration at the time of debut, this becomes less about the label trying to create fun, suggestive innuendos, and it becomes more dark and concerning that they are perhaps trying to take advantage of the girls' youth and innocence to appeal to a much older audience. Of course, there was some discourse surrounding Young Posse's debut for quite some time. Some fans were adamant that the girls were being mistreated, but because it was their first release, I think a lot of people didn't necessarily give it a pass, but perhaps were more willing to let it slide, but still kept a cautious eye on the girls just in case, if that makes sense. However, we're not quite done there, and concerns for the girls were heightened when the time came for them to release their first comeback track, XXL. Last year, in July 2024, a YouTube channel named Beautiful Nerd shared a sketch-style video which showed comedians Choi Jae-woo and Jung Young-min playing a satire hip-hop duo. In the sketch, they pretended to be trying to write lyrics for the Young Posse members Sunhye and Yeonjung, who are the group's two eldest members, both born in 2004. In the sketch, Choi Jae-woo, also known as K-pop Rama, arrives and the girls stand to greet him, and he shakes each of their hands. He holds it for way longer than he should, and the girls' bodyguard in the sketch has to intervene both times. He then tries to get the girls' phone numbers to communicate while they work together, but of course the comedic insinuation here is that he means more than that. They also discuss Young Posse's latest release, XXL, and in the song there's a section where they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and instead he replaces the line with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a word that is just one letter away from 6. I'm sure you can imagine the one I mean. Unfortunately, this joke was not funny at all, and he repeats it multiple times, and the girls sit there looking kind of awkward, shocked, and uncomfortable each time. On the back of this sketch show, fans have asked Young Posse's label to protect the group more, because while they included the group's elder members for this sketch, this just means they knew there would be inappropriate jokes made at their expense. And just sending older members doesn't suddenly make this a good to go and give the label a get out of jail free card they probably thought they were going to get, because at least it was the adult members. Fans do not want any members of the group to be associated with this sort of over-sexualization, because what is stopping consumers from this sort of content, thinking they can treat every one of the label's artists in a similar way, regardless of age? It opens a very dangerous door. That was the label's second strike, in my opinion, and if anybody still had their doubts that the label had intentions of exploiting their female artists after that second offense, I think the latest development with this AI avatar app will have been the final nail in the coffin for them. And I do think the fact they have included the group's barely 19-year-old member is again an attempt to be like, well, at least it was one of the adult members involved, as if this would suddenly get the seal of approval from fans. Needless to say, it doesn't. So that brings us on to talk about the elephant in the room, which I think we really need to, and that is the bigger picture here. Let's talk about the ill treatment that young female artists and female artists in general receive in the K-pop industry. Where do we begin? I know we have only spoken about a couple of examples specifically related to either RBW artists or even more specifically Young Posse in this video, but the harsh reality is that there will be hundreds and hundreds of other examples we could look at. The unfortunate reality is that there is a side of the K-pop industry that I'd much prefer not to exist, but it will always be there. It might not be huge, but it's definitely there and unavoidable, and that is the portion of the industry that will never view female idols for their talents or what they are able to offer to music and the industry, but it will simply see them as items for objectification amongst male and often older audiences. I will say this now because I'm sure at least one person will be thinking this. Mistreatment of female celebrities for NSFW purposes is not strictly a K-pop problem. This is very prominent across all industries and even across all genders. And this is because NSFW spaces are considered extremely profitable. So it's almost as as if for some industries, it's the natural progression and somehow evolves into finding more and more ways to venture into NSFW environments to increase revenue. K-pop is no exception to this. While a lot of K-pop's concepts sometimes come across more innocent to the untrained eye, there will be a lot of nuances or attempts from the K-pop industry to appeal to these sorts of audiences who buy into that thing that we may not even realize. Sometimes they are more discreet, such as suggestive song lyrics with innuendos or suggestive clothing. Other times it is literally right in your face, such as K-pop girl group Stellar being given a very adult concept all the members expressed extreme discomfort in, or RBW now adding its artists to an app with a spicy chat feature. The difference is, in industries which are strictly already NSFW, such as adult films or adult performers in licensed establishments, if you catch my drift, most of the time you'd like to hope that those entering those sorts of environments for work know exactly what they're signing up for and are comfortable with creating that style of content. When it comes to female K-pop trainees who join a music label with hopes of achieving their dreams of debuting as a singer or dancer, they are not supposed to be signing up for a life of being objectified. And unfortunately, this somehow always seems to come as part and parcel of the job description, when it shouldn't, or should at least be avoided as much as possible out of respect for them and their boundaries. And that is up to the labels to do, to protect them. And that brings me back to RBW's latest Almigo app scandal. I know it may not appear that deep on the surface level, and sure, they've pulled out of it now, but we don't exactly know how far this app would have gone, or to what extent these artists and their likeness would have been taken advantage of. As a label that is home to several female artists, it's up to RBW to protect them from the more sinister use of their image, or inappropriate content which they do not consent to. But in this circumstance, the label literally consented to use their artists for adult content, and worse, we're going to get paid for it. I'm not expecting the poor treatment or how women are expected to be treated to improve in the industry by great amounts. In fact, any progress I feel like we have made towards the protection of women and celebration of female idols for their talents regardless of age will soon be completely compromised by the rise of AI. As I'm sure many of us have seen, the increase of deepfakes and the ability to create characterizations of real people by simply putting their face onto a body that either isn't theirs or doesn't exist to create images or videos that are not even slightly real is quite terrifying, to be honest. So the fact that RBW was so willing to allow their idols to be part of something which literally creates AI avatars of their artists is honestly extremely upsetting, and I can't imagine how the artists must have felt if they knew the extent of the sort of things their label were trying to involve them in, and especially knowing they can't really do anything in retaliation, but that their labels take advantage of them. I feel honestly it's really quite interesting that 1, the label purposely only included female artists in this collaboration, and 2, they didn't even try to defend themselves in their apology by saying something like they wanted to give fans a unique opportunity to communicate with their artists or something stupid like that. They just simply said, sorry, our bad, we won't do it again. It's like they knew it was clear as day what the intentions of this collaboration were and who the target audience is. There is no hiding or denying that, so they didn't even pretend or try to do so. I think the only thing we can do as K-pop fans is exactly what happened here. Do not accept these types of things. Just because a company puts out a collaboration or new content, it does not mean you have to simply accept it to support your favorite artists, especially if something does not sit right with you or your morals. Call for boycotts, express your discontent, and don't purchase or consume content you feel is exploitative, because doing these things works. And when we're loud enough, companies will listen. What happened here with the RBW Almigo collaboration is a great example of a label chancing their arm to see what they can get away with, and K-pop audiences standing up and showing our strength in numbers. And look, the result is it won't be going ahead after all. More labels will try to do these sorts of things, especially as AI continues to grow and its impact within the industry heightens. The harmful treatment of young girls and women in the industry is not going to get any better either. So I think what I wanted to say for my parting words in today's video and the conclusion is, please continue to be outraged. You're well within your rights to do so. Okay guys, and that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you got this far. I know it's not my longest content by any means, but I thought it was really important for me to at least share my 2 cents on this topic as a woman and as somebody who is extremely concerned at the way in which women are treated in all environments, to be honest. Not even just this one. Honestly, I could literally talk about this topic all day, so if you ever fancy a 10-hour video of me going on and on about feminism and this topic, just let me know. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, please give it a thumbs up, and as always, I would love to hear your thoughts thoughts on this topic down in the comments. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to hear whenever I upload, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!